All right, everybody that's not here today, you can catch this YouTube video up as I sent some emails out before stating that if you need any support or have any questions at all, let me know. You had a question, Gabby? Oh, okay. One thing that I did want to talk about was I made a small update to Caesar's resume. Hello?
How do you just connect?
Hello, Gabby?
Huh?
Gabby? I think I could mute him for a minute here.
Right. I think so.
Gabby, I'm gonna mute you for a minute. I'm getting a lot of background noise. Hit me up on the chat if you want to make a comment. Real quick, I want to talk about I got an email from Caesar, and I was gonna work on his resume, so I'll show you a couple things on what I did to his resume real quick if I can find it. So he sent me his resume, and I don't know if Caesar's on tonight, but what I did is there was a position with, I believe, a law company, and also, just real quick, there was another position that came through that I told you guys about. There's a guy named Paul that came and took my class. Within the first 2 weeks, he got his certification. I found him a position before he got his certification. And on this specific position, somebody else coming in? I don't know. Maybe, I'm not sure. But on this specific position, it was a Windows 10 position that pays $30-something an hour. So I wanted to kind of point that out to you guys. It's actually close to some of the stuff that you were doing, Kevin. And they had... Let me see. I'll run through it real quick. Let's see here. This is it. So at NTT Data, it's another managed service company similar to CompuCom. They're taking over a lot of stuff. It's a managed deployment end user position. And basically they're installing Windows 10 and replacing it. So strong hands-on experience in deployment, proficiency with software 4 years, Excel, PowerPoint, Excel project, and all that, but he's not doing none of that. He told me they're not really doing all that. Troubleshooting, understanding of networking, assigning tickets, stuff like that. You're basically deploying computers, and it probably pays. I think he was getting paid $35, and he's just doing basic Windows 10 deployment, so that was a position that I wanted to share on Slack, which I did. I don't think anybody's responded to it, but I was trying to find out if I could get Caesar a desktop position because he wants to get into security, and he's working as a technical assistant, center or whatever this is here for Stanley Security. This is the position on, and I think you might have heard about this from Kevin, like last year, there was a bunch of positions open for tech support, level 1 tech support, and nobody in the class really was interested. And I got word from Caesar. Somebody sent me his resume and said, can you help him out? And I said, well, let's see what I could do. And he took the position. Initially, he put this on his resume in red, and I put in a little comment saying there's no need to explain that. You could just tell them that. You want to keep things as concise as possible. And I just cleaned up a couple things, added some different words. He had a lot of experience. I want to highlight that in Geek Squad. So the next time we talk, or he sees this video, he'll see that I made these comments and said, okay, where's the work details? This is missing some work details. And then I also added a pending certificate for this exam, and also him taking this class, which is the Network Fundamentals for the Microsoft Technology Associate training. So I'll call that training. And if you notice, we're in Google Docs right now. This is a living and breathing document, so I can always go and access it. But I just want to share that. Also, I wanted to talk about oh, that's the old one. I don't know what I did with that email just now, man. I'm completely lost. Okay, here it is here. What we could do is, Kevin, if you could kind of break down some of your experiences on the new gig that you got with U.S. Bank, and then I might create another AWS instance real quick and then showcase tree size and talk about the VPN a little bit. And everybody needs to circle back around for Chapter 14 and play around with the command line. I think that'll be very important for the exam. And then I'll announce information on how the Salesforce demo will go.
Okay. All right. Well, now the new position I just started with U.S. Bank Service is a tier 2 desktop support. So basically, the job experience I have right now, because it's my second day so far. I'm working with them today, and I'll be back there tomorrow, of course. And the duties they have me doing is, so it's basically like creating tickets through an app called ClearVision and Clarify, as well as they also use ServiceNow, and basically help other companies that are a part of U.S. Bank. Basically, help them replace broken laptops or new laptop, as well as getting refurbished laptops and stuff. So basically, help them to order stuff for that, get all the information, stuff everything down, create the ticket, get everything and stuff sent out. Then you give them a call after you take care of the ticket and stuff and make sure everything's correct. And then we send the order out to be shipped. So that's one thing. There will be other stuff to be doing, everything later as well stuff too, but that's pretty more stuff a little bit eventually as well too. And also I was informed that I will be imaging those computers as well too. We'll be sending this stuff out, which I already have a lot of experience in myself, which is also part of A3 stuff. Basically physically and stuff imaging the computers, and I think we might be doing it some remotely as well too.
Okay, that's pretty good. And you said this is a 6-month contract to hire?
Yeah, 6-month contract to hire. So the starting pay is 19 hours. So if you get hired on, they give you $20 an hour.
$20 an hour. So it'll be benefits. Would it be 401k and any other benefits and health or?
I haven't looked all that stuff up. I haven't asked. I guess I'll get no benefits and stuff. Everything once I get hired on and stuff. Once I get hired on in 6 months. But me personally, I'm gonna just work with them so far. Well, I might get hired on. It'd be pretty cool. But if I do, I'm trying to stay like about another 4 to 5 months until moving something else like AWS or online cybersecurity or something of that nature or something. So
yeah, don't have too many high expectations, because a lot of times you got to think managed service companies, they rather you to contract. They make us extend the contract, and it'll be a situation where, because that was what the understanding was. The understanding between you and the person that interviewed with you is they sold you on this contract saying it's going to be a 6-month contract to hire. But that may not necessarily always be the case, because you know how they play a lot of times. A lot of times they'll say that it's going to be a contract to hire position, but it's not a contract to hire position at all. And so what ends up happening is a lot of people get their hopes up, and they're thinking that the contract will either extend or the contract will you'll actually be hired. Because look at it, you're making $19 an hour, all right? And if you're making $19 an hour, and then all of a sudden they're saying, well, if you get hired on, you're making $20. Most of that went to benefits. You would think that, okay, I'm making $19 an hour, I should at least make $25. You needed to at least make $25 to $30 an hour to really get out here in the real world and start wanting to own some property or something, unless you have such low overhead that you're able to just boss up and they just get your own thing going. But they know that little dollar, some people may be willing to sign on see, what I did a lot of times is I'll do a contract like that, and then I go to the next contract and say, look, I want this. I want to make more than what I made. So, you could just take it, or you could just look for something else when the contract's getting ready to end, and within those 6 months, really around the 4.5 month, somebody should be talking to you about, hey, we're thinking about bringing you on. That's how that conversation should start looking.
Because speaking of that and stuff, man, now I feel like Derek he already everything and stuff advised everybody to do this before, but I advise everybody to do this so far. Make yourselves and professional profile with
the bank?
LinkedIn. LinkedIn. That's how.
LinkedIn. Yeah,
LinkedIn. That's how on LinkedIn. Yep. Because as soon as I start this job, 5 different people who are in the IT recruitment contact me through LinkedIn, ask for my resume, talk about hiring, and they want to ask me for an interview. This happened today and yesterday. 5 different people. People and stuff. I'm not sure what company this really was, but I'm not sure if I want to see my resume or not. I just said just go around and hand so far. People must refurbish my profile so they make it a little bit better than it is, and just send me my resume just begin with anyway. They contact me about message through both LinkedIn and contact me by my email. So I highly advise anyone so far who wants to get out there in the field, want these companies to hire you and contract you and stuff as well, make your profile through LinkedIn and as Indeed and stuff, everything as well too. Also, don't be afraid to ask for much more if you already have like 6 months of experience in the IT field and stuff, everything, because this type of career, you should not be getting paid chump change, and you should not be getting paid any less than 16 or 17, 18 an hour. You should not be getting paid any less than that, because this stuff may seem like it's easy, but at the same exact time it's not. It can actually stress you out and stuff is one thing and stuff too, because it stands up repeated, especially when they're very, very busy and talking to people stuff with a phone, or if you're working around a whole bunch of coworkers and stuff, everything is being kind of toxic and they're not trying to give out information and everything and stuff. So yes. I think there's also a thing you were saying about like a thing you go online so far, how much your pay is worth, or how much you are worth to be getting paid, something like that. So,
yeah. There's actually Glassdoor's one. Indeed, I think is pretty good. A lot of times they'll give you a range. They may ask you certain questions based upon what qualifications you may have and things of that nature. But one thing people should do is they should be realistic. If you're just getting your feet wet, unless you're at a company where, for example, I'll give you one of the students that we had before, he already had a computer science degree. He came in and took the certification class before he had problems landing a job. He had got his computer science degree years before. But he probably just, his interview skills weren't great at the time, and he just didn't have the confidence, and then his resume didn't look the greatest at the time. So you got to think about that's a whole total package. That's presentation. Then you have branding. You have a situation where this guy may not have had the right package. He didn't have the resume. He had the technical skills. He was a halfway decent guy. So you have that out. He could do the work. But it wasn't conveyed and it wasn't presented. So he didn't really know what to do at the time. He had a degree, he had the qualifications, a lot sharper than the average person, but he wasn't able to convey that. When he took our class, we got him ready to be able to convey that. So he ended up getting a position for 60 racks. You see what I'm saying? So
he get paid $60,000 a year now?
Yeah, he's getting paid about 60, but the thing is, he already had his degree and he had his qualifications. He took my certification within 2 weeks of joining the class. So the point is like, if you were to go to Indeed, if you were to go to Glassdoor, and if he were to put in all of that, and he knew coding too, it's a situation where he's in a higher bracket to get that 58, 60 plus his first time going around. Now, if you get somebody where you're just doing help desk desktop support, a lot of times what they try to do with those positions now is they want to give you crumbs because, you know, they know they can kind of get anybody to do a lot of that stuff. So it's always good to get your hands dirty with stuff like Splunk and AWS and any piece of technology that most people are not very cognitive in coming out of college, coming out of high school. You know, a lot of these guys don't know how to use AWS. Some of these sysadmins don't really know how to use AWS. They don't want to use it because maybe, you know, it's just a whole nother thing that they got to learn at work. You know, so they'd rather just get down with Server 2012 and 2016 and stuff. So they may not go into all of these different things on how to launch templates and do reserve instances and you know, or, you know, all of that. But one thing I noticed is when you have a skill that most people don't have, it's easier for you to command that amount, you know, because they're paying you for a skill that, you know, it ain't millions of people that know AWS inside and out. It's not. You know, it's not millions and millions of people. You know, it's somebody here, it's somebody there, you know, and people that are just genuinely interested in it. You see what I mean? So, with your situation, that's probably, you want to find, even if you could find a cloud support, you know, like a cloud support company, you know, a company that does cloud support or cybersecurity or any type of way you could get in to really get your hands on that technology. Because as soon as I became a Windows 7 team lead, that's when other positions started opening up for me because I had that team lead under my name. It wasn't that I was doing anything super spectacular. I wasn't engineering anything, but the thing is I was doing some project management duties, some business analyst duties, you know, a lot of different stuff that I did, and there's still a lot of stuff that I did that I probably forgot, and I didn't know how to convey that on my resume. The point is you're able to do it, you know, so.
Okay. So working as a team, I have a question for you, Derek. So working as a team lead, is that kind of stressful, or is it pretty cool, or that really depends on like your teammates and your people you work with?
If you're doing desktop support, I don't know why this ain't loading up, but if you're doing desktop support, a team lead is basically somebody that might do some imaging machines. Come in, I train you to do the imaging machines. Meeting with the PMs and anybody that's like, this is a migration project, so it's all about how many machines we migrate. Are these machines having problems? Most of the problems are going to come from the operating system, 9 times out of 10, most of the time. You see what I mean?
Okay.
So, it's not this super glamorous, team lead, I manage the entire budget type of ordeal. That's not. The PM usually handles a lot of that. But you may take status reports saying, like when I was working with AIG, I'd say, well, I migrated 3 machines a day or 4 machines a day. Well, the whole process takes a while. You got to image the machines. You got to move the data. You may get somebody that doesn't want to. They just simply don't want to migrate. I'd come to their desk and their machine's locked up, because they don't want to get away from Windows XP. They want to use they don't want to use Windows 7. They want to use Windows XP. So they don't want to learn the new system. You got a lot of those folks that just sit around at their job and they don't really want to learn nothing new. So they become the biggest pains because you have to pretty much show them. You got to show them how to do their job in a sense. Some of these people, you got to show them something that they should already know how to do. There should already be training, because when I was at Travelers Insurance, they had packets and they had sessions where people had to come and do lunch and learns. So you couldn't just run around talking about, well, I don't know how to move around in Windows 7. They wouldn't allow that there. They had lunch and learns and training meetings and conferences and presentations. They had pilots and tests for almost half a year or a year before they started launching this stuff. So you didn't really have a situation where people could say, well, I don't have a clue what I'm getting into. No, we have tons and tons of training. If you don't want to learn this, it's because you refuse yourself. It's not something you can't mentally do. This isn't a cognitive issue. This is a I don't want to do my job issue. So we had that when I was working on the migration and travelers insurance. You know, Blue Cross, I believe, had it too when I was out there.
You had a bunch of people that didn't want to do their job and stuff. They want people to learn something new.
Well, Blue Cross, they had training. They had packets, and they had stuff to where if people just didn't want to do it, well, they just lose productivity. Your manager comes by, why isn't this project done? Why haven't you got the spreadsheets? Well, I can't find this and I can't find that. I can't do this and I can't do that. And they're like, well, we have training programs, so you can't, it's not a situation. See, what it is, they want to hold on to old ways. They want to hold on to Windows XP. So as a team lead, all you're doing is just kind of coordinating the man. You know, you have a spreadsheet. Okay, I got Kevin over here imaging. You know, I had it at a point in time where I had a guy, I started as just doing regular desktop, and I became a team lead because the other lead didn't show up. He just never showed up. So I had already been trained the most. So then they put this one guy with me. He didn't work very well. He couldn't get his paperwork right. I hired one of my, I got one of my friends. I told him, I said, look, let me get one of my guys over here. So it was like 2 or 3 of my guys I tried to get over here. I tried to get one of my guys that was on a migration project. He couldn't pass it because he was smoking weed. I don't know why he failed the drug test. He should have just went and got him a little, But so he's out. So I said, let me get one of my other people out there. They were listening to me because I was running the project right. So I had a little bit of say so. I was the only one there. It was a remote site. You see what I'm saying? I was the only one in that building that was doing. There was nobody else deploying but me. And I was doing a damn good job. I had the #1 site in North America. And it's not just because I was good. It's just that I had a good system admin, a good local desktop guy that was perm. So they were doing little desktop stuff around there. And I was just doing the migration. So the sysadmin guy, he wasn't really part of the project. He worked on something else, but the thing is, he's there, so he's not going to let me sink. He started just working us out a real good image. Once he got a good image, all the other sites around the country wanted to replicate my image. So once we had a good one, after a while, they said, all right, well, Derek, you're done with Oakdale. Why don't you start shipping computers from Texas and New York? So that's what happened. They started shipping computers to me. Some of them computers had solid states. I'd push Windows 7 on them, get the image ready, let them encrypt, and then I just set them off. So I got 50 computers ready to ship. So if somebody needs a computer, they just email me. All I do is just move their data, make sure the apps work, shut the lid, and go to the shipping department, print out the shipping label, and ship it. So I ship maybe 2-3 machines a day. I have my guy over here, he's imaging. If there's like a technical issue, then I do the support. If I got to issue an RSA token, then I just get in and I be the bridge between India, because people that couldn't understand India, they hated calling India because they couldn't never get no support. So people start bringing their machines to me. And if it's something I can't fix, I tell them call the help desk. There's a lot of stuff that I could have fixed, but I didn't have access to it. But that was, like I said, that wasn't the scope of my position. If somebody came to me saying, well, this ain't working and that ain't working, I could say, well, is this an operating system? If it's not a blue screen to death, then I could just tell them, just call the help desk. I could literally just say no, because that's not within the scope of the contract. Once I start doing all this extra desktop support stuff beyond the scope of the contract, well, then now Dell has to circle back around and have a conversation. They got to say, well, wait a minute. You got Derek doing this, that, and the third. He's not supposed to be doing that. That's outside of the service level agreement. He's supposed to be imaging machines, making sure that they're intact. If there's a problem with the machine, then he could do a warranty repair. So I did do that too. So now, I mean, as a team lead, I'm doing desktop stuff, but I'm more so coordinating the migration. I'm talking to the PMs, making sure that everything is good. And that's pretty much what the team lead was, in my case, was doing. Now, it all depends on what company you're at, but for the most part, if you're doing a migration, the stress may come from, let's say you got sometimes you got a whole different department of packaging engineers, the people just working on the golden image. That position that I showed you with NTT Data, they're looking for another deployment person because they got to be done by March. So that'd be a good position for somebody to get in if they could get to. And I'm gonna tell you, over there, a lot of them places over there, they just want bodies. Had I would have known about it early, if I wasn't where I was at, I would have just went and took it. I'm not really trying to get back in desktop support, let alone a lot of heavy support. I'm not interested in it at all. But 30, 35, 37 an hour, I mean, I'd do that in a heartbeat. I'll do that in my sleep. It'd be easy. I have enough experience to go in there and just knock that out the park. And it's not really going to be real hard for me. You know, so had I would have known about it, if I was looking for something, or if things went left for me, I'd go jump on that in a heartbeat. They take me quick, because once they see Citrix and they see I got migrations and team leads and I got technical training skills, I mean, I get people certified. They be like, oh, okay, yeah, bring them. And I tell them, let me get 40. That position's going for 35, but I tell them I'm on 40. You know, and then if they come back and say, well, we can only do 37, all right, let's go. You know, because, you know, coming into a position like that, I'm probably going to be able to bring a lot more insight, you know, and I haven't really touched a Windows 10 migration at all. It's just been really primarily Windows 7, you know. So, one thing I want to share with you guys is a program called TreeSize. And what TreeSize does, I've used this at different companies as well, but TreeSize basically allows you to analyze the disk space. If you're wondering what disk space do you have on your machine, and see, these are this is real live pieces of software. If people were joining more often to the class, I'd show more applications. But it's really no sense in me going through tons of different applications if people ain't logging in, so they'll just miss out. But they could watch the videos and see. TreeSize, I use another one called, it wasn't TreeSize, it was called something else. Shoot. It was called, was it?
As you speak, I'm downloading it to my computer right now.
Was it Wenderstat? Yeah, this is another one too.
That's professional. Professional to pay for it. Let me go to regular. Hold on for a second.
So TreeSize does kind of the same thing as launched a free one. Let me download it on mine and make sure it's all legit. So yeah, it wants you to restart TreeSize and request admin privileges so folders can be scanned, otherwise they're not accessible. So I could say restart as an administrator. So it'll restart now as an administrator. And, you know, as you can see, it tells you exactly what you got. Instead of looking through stuff, you can just see what you got. Like, okay, I got 24 gigs in my user file. And then I got 2.3 gigs, like, in my file here. So you could play around with it. I mean, it tells you exactly what you got. This ain't going to be one of these finding a needle in a haystack ordeals. It ain't like that at all. It tells you exactly what's on your machine, and it tells you where it's at. So you basically just drill down. It's like Microsoft Explorer, and it tells you, you know, and you could look within terabytes and gigabytes, megabytes, and whatever you want to do. You know, I mean, it's something nice to see where things are. If somebody's saying, well, I got space, and, well, how much space you got? Well, I thought I deleted this, and I thought I delete. Well, you ain't got to think about nothing. You can know, and you could actually go in there and you can find out exactly what is there. You know, Wenderstat does the same. So for anybody that wants to look at Wenderstat, you know, I started out using this before. I was a Citrix administrator before. Had a company I won't name. But I was there a pretty short time, but they had these things called NAS drives, called Network Attached Storage, and basically they were having a bunch of Citrix problems, some things that the storage area team should have taken care of, but they said the Citrix team manages it. So what I had to do is use a program like this, and I believe it was Wenderstat, or it might have been TreeSize, I can't remember which one, but I had to go in and see they had this thing called a DFS link. It's called Distributed File System. So basically you have a link that points to basically a network drive somewhere that has a folder of the profile, which they will call roaming profiles. The profiles would sit on a whole nother server. But sometimes those links break. And sometimes you have to actually go into the link and basically just say, all right, wherever the link is, and then you got to put the link back in or copy paste, something like that. So it's like a URL, but not really. But what happens is you'll go in and you'll use FreeSize or WinterStat, and it'll pretty much tell you wherever this stuff is, and it'll determine how much is on that drive. And you had a lot of people, 9 times out of 10, that had a lot of PST files, very large Microsoft Exchange files, and really they're supposed to only have a certain amount of files. They're supposed to be saving that off to the cloud. So we basically went through a long list of everybody that had, let's say, over 30-40 gigs of files for space that they weren't supposed to be using. We emailed them and said, hey, you need to clean this up. And most of the time you'd have a whole bunch of other garbage, and they say, well, I need this stuff. But the thing is, you can't save it there. That was the reason why we got a whole bunch of server crashes and stuff going on, because they were allowing people to serve, you know. But long story short, you know, they never really wanted to do anything about it, and they didn't really want to provide the training, you know, to get people on the right track. So I didn't stick around. A lot of people from that whole team quit. A lot of Signature guys quit, a whole bunch of them, even guys over in India. So I won't say the name of the company, but what I will say is it was a shitstorm.
Damn.
You know, and, you know, like I said, I wasn't going to stick around. I mean, it was like 7 people that left. So, you know, so you got places that operate like that. They just, you know, you walk in there and it's just a storm and they expect everybody to be abracadabra. And you're like, well, hey, wait a minute, you know, what? Let's have some type of constructive protocol here. I mean, you had guys on bridges that were arguing with each other and cussing each other out about one issue that the storage team should have owned, but you got 70 people on here, and they're arguing and going back and forth. And so then when they come to the Signature team to ask questions, they start asking me questions. And I answer the questions. Before I'm done with my answer, they want to cut me off. And they kept cutting me off over and over and over. And one day, I just told them, I said, listen, if we're going to have a constructive conversation, then everybody needs to have a turn to speak. And when that person is speaking, everyone else needs to keep their mouths closed. I said, we say we're adults in here, right? They rubbed some people really the wrong way. That I guess was not politically correct for me to do. But after a while, I said, to hell with this. I don't want to stay here anyway. Either we're going to have a constructive conversation to come up with a constructive result, or I don't need to be on this bridge. Because if everybody's going back and forth and you got 5 people talking at the same time, how are you going to be able to communicate? It's supposed to be a bridge moderator to make sure that everybody stays on code. Nobody's on code at all. No one wants to, you know, so you get stuff like that. You know, that's frustrating. Like if you're a team lead and you're trying to get information from the storage team, what's going on with these SAN drives over here? Well, we don't know. That's y'all's problem. No, you're the storage team. You manage the NAS drives. Well, you know, and so now you got to go through a needle in a haystack. And you're on this call for 2 hours, right? And you know, and then on top of that, now they're saying, well, we want you to do the desktops. I'm not the desktop team. Why am I doing this? So, you know, they play little games and stuff like that. And you know, I thought it was a Signature position. I wasn't having it. I told them to go to hell. You know, when you're skilled, you don't got to tolerate that mess. When you have skills, you know, you could go elsewhere. It's not the end of the road. You know, You want to find, sometimes it takes a while. Like I remember an older guy told me one time, he said, man, sometimes it takes a little while. Sometimes it may take a little while for you to find that position where you feel like, okay, I could bear this. You know, I could live here. I could live here for a while. You know, and, you know, But anyway,
because the position I'm in right now, man, it seems like it's really, really cool. Everybody there so far said, "Oh, you should get this done really quick so far. It's really cool to work here." So I mean, it'd be mind-boggling sometimes. I'm like, okay, but I mean, it's like the manager. So man, like he called me by the wrong name before like twice already. So far, he kept calling me either Franklin or Johnny. I'm like, huh, that's not my name. He's like, oh, sorry, my name's Kevin. I'm like, okay, like. You're like, but you call me Christopher. I said your full name is Christopher. So Chris is short name for Christopher. So why are you making a big deal about that? So yeah, so basically we come to these darn jobs. So far, you gotta be very professional. So far, not letting some of them people stay. People so they can get to you so far too big. So man, let's just constantly repeating it. So you gotta put them in check. Like, hey man, I'm like, if you're gonna continue to have me the part of team menace, hold on for a second.
Bless you. Yeah, I mean, you just gotta, and see, a lot of times, this is the mind state in corporate. A lot of times they figure like this, especially for black folks. You'll come in there, you're already kind of at a disadvantage from if you look at it if you peel the layers back. If people want to keep it all the way a buck, you're coming in there where socially you're at a disadvantage a lot of times. So you might have a situation where you're coming in, you're supposed to be on board, and you're supposed to receive the same training, and it's supposed to be, no mistreatment right off top. And now you deal with some asshole that wants to come in and give you a hard time for basic. You're not begging. It's basic. It should be basic, straight, neutral, universal law across the board. You are provided the information that everyone is supposed to be provided. That's how it's supposed to be, coming straight out the gate. You don't know these people, right? So, you'll have a lot of microaggressions.
I did not get in it. I did not get that type of stuff, that type of professionals working in Best Buy and stuff, man. But this job and stuff so far, I mean, it's like they just came on to me so far and said, get down to train so far on computer stuff first, damn, you get teach you so far how to do this, do that. I'm like, damn, okay. Like, they just me so far came into training, so I'm like, all right, that's how it should be.
Yeah, I mean, the training is supposed to be you're supposed to be able to walk through there, get your badge, get your password. Everything is supposed to be fair for everyone coming through the board. It's not supposed to be a wild goose chase. It's not. It's simply not, man. It's not supposed to be a wild goose chase where everybody is, where it's okay, where it's Kevin and we just gonna give him a hard time just because you're you. But I've been through that a lot. I really didn't start really paying most mind to it as I got a little bit older. But if you could get a position where it's kind of cool, and you're gonna have some of your bad eggs, but me, some people say just let it all slide down your back. You'll kill yourself doing that. You can find another job. You can't get another heart. It's best if you start having if people start giving you a hard time right away, it's best to just get them out the way right away. And you know what I'm talking about, that compensatory code. Questions, very few statements, because questions. Someone's making funny comments, or making you start stay in that question lane. Stay in that question lane. Give them 1,000 questions. So when they start making funny time statements, you just ask the questions. What does that mean? Oh, well, I didn't mean it by that. Well, what does meaning by that mean? What do you mean? You make them qualify the bullshit that they're getting ready to do. So now they know that they're just dealing with a different type of Negro. That's it. That's what I started to do. Whatever the statement may be made.
Yeah, the same exact thing in Best Buy. So with the team lead and stuff there, she's making jokes like they just picture a whole bunch of grown men so far can't be hit with whips and stuff as well. I said, well, like the girl so far said, yeah, I mean, I got a good imagination, but why is this supposed to be funny? She was like, oh, well, I mean, I was just joking. Like I don't joke like this so far. Why is this supposed to be funny? And then she was like, then she got me, and then she talked on like some yelling stuff. And I told her one day so far, I said, yes, I good at understanding direction for all directions, if you really, really want me to get the job done. But if you're going to yell at me and stuff and do half-ass doodle stuff, don't expect it to get done. If you half-ass teach me how to do something, or you want to yell at me the whole damn time like I'm some sort of child. Ever since then, she has not yelled at me since.
That's what I'm saying. Don't follow up. That's why I say don't. I remember I used to have situations where I say, let it slide off your back coming in the gate because you feel. See, that's that terrified. That's the terrified plantation thinking. You're coming in here and thinking you have to walk on eggshells. No. Don't yell at me. You got to scream at them. Don't yell at me. If you expect some constructive results, we need to be able to have a constructive conversation. Don't yell at me.
Yeah, because it was kind of weird with her. Where I said it.
I'm not your child.
I to her and stuff, man. She just like. She came in the pod before I even started with her, cause I like when she yelled me the first. I looked at her and just started laughing. She like, she had shit look on her face. I'm like, man, why is you laughing for? He's kind of crazy or something. This was someone else was telling her and stuff. I'm like,
yeah, I mean, it's all psychological in these areas. They're looking. You have a lot of predatory people in some of the workplace, and what they do is they come to work and they give other people a hard time. And really, what they're doing, a lot of the stuff, these tactics and the things that they're doing, is actually illegal. It's actually a crime. You're not supposed to assault. That's assault. You're not supposed to attack. Yeah, you're not supposed to attack people. So, Brother Gabby? Hello? Gabby?
I don't know if you said to hear us and stuff.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on. I'm hearing a whole lot of background noise. I don't want that in the recording. But yeah, anyway, man, my advice to people is don't look at it like when you're coming in, I'm on eggshells and I have to just take anything that I'm given. There was a brother that was working before, and he was like a top level corporate. I don't know, he's making a lot of money, but he almost had a stroke because he's letting everything slide down his back. Rather than just saying, because the worst, all they're going to do is fire him at the worst. But the thing is now you have health problems because you're letting everything hold in. And a lot of times at work, people feel that, well, black men and women, they have to just receive it. They have to just receive the beating and they just got to take it. And they come in the career thinking that that's the case. And I got to a point where I'm just not going to do it. I just flat out do it. And as soon as every time I took that approach, they always fell back, and then they just go to the next person. They just go to that's what happens. They go to, the hate. They start to do a little bit of the hazing, and then you're like, no, this ain't gonna happen. We're gonna have to go about this a different way. We're gonna have to communicate a different way. And usually what happens with that is you kind of become the enemy. Now you're the bad guy. But fuck them. I'd rather be the bad guy. I'll be the bad guy for now. Because you got to have some type of sanity going into those environments. Some battles you just ain't going to win. You're going to be in a lion's den in some situations. I've been in that situation too, where you're in a lion's den, you're not going to get no justice. HR's coding up with everybody. The lead's coding up with the system engineer. His manager's coding up with him. So now you're in a lion's den. You're Daniel, and you're trying to figure out how you're going to survive in this situation, and you really don't have no survival tactics, and they know it. So those type of environments are the worst because they get so toxic to the point where you're just like, but usually people don't survive in those areas anyway. They either just work and just keep it social at a minimal, or they just go completely numb. I had a homeboy that happened to. He went completely numb. It was just, he came in and it was almost like nothing. They just do the work and they make comments and just totally detached. They totally detach socially. And sometimes they don't like that either because they're like, wait a minute, damn, we're giving him a hard time. It's not working. He's not very responsive to it. It doesn't look like it's bothering. So then they don't really know what to do with that. So they can't get anything out of you. A lot of those guys that I worked with at some of those managed service companies, a lot of those Indian guys, no matter what you do or say to them, they brush it all off. They brush it all off. But it's not easy for us to do that because the thing is we're like I said, we're coming through like, wait a minute, we're American black men and women, first of all. And we're coming in all fairness, and we're trying to do a good job. And we're getting a hard time solely on account of what we look like. So that's a whole different psyche, as you know, in itself. So that's why it's good to master a craft and master some type of technology, such as like, and that's why I always say AWS. Gabby mentioned that he's going to present to the class some AWS, some free training. There's a 3-month program that he said he's going to tell me about. So once he tells me about it and calls me and I talk to him, you know, I'll see if I can present that to the class. But I mean, nobody's on here tonight, man. I mean, I'm not about to go through another lab. I mean, there's really no point. I'm going to just go ahead and stop this instance because I want to be able to get everybody's opinion on, you know, if they tried AWS or not. I'm more so, if anything, leading to the well. And, you know, if people want to drink, fine. If not, you know, it beats me. I mean, you know, all I can say is I know the direction that this software is going, you see. So,
you talk about AWS? I mean AWS?
AWS, yeah. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna post the videos on Slack from now on. I'm not gonna email them out no more. I'm gonna put them all on Slack, and people can get them from Slack. So, I think what I'll do is we'll go ahead and end this out, and I guess we'll just reconvene. And you know, if people still want to continue to join, they can continue to join, or if they need help with the exam. I mean, now it's pretty much crunch time. We're pretty much ending. It's going to be ending it soon. So I'm assuming that everybody's had read their books or whatever questions they have, they could reach out, because I could give them whatever support they need, but they gotta communicate.
I to go myself and stuff, everything, man. But I'm looking to get my certification sometime in November, so I'll get another try around that time, because it's just I gotta take care of other stuff as well too, everything like it. I mean, other stuff too is outside of IT, but the same that time is like, once I get my cert, man, I'm trying to figure out what to do next. If I should go for my A+, should I start going to train for this AWS? And there's other thing you show me about that stuff as well, the thing too, man. I'm trying to get like multiple different certs, because it's like, this is cool. I'm getting paid $19 an hour right now. My job is actually the most I make, and pretty much I got paid in my life right now. But it's like, this is cool, but I want something better and stuff, man. So I gotta work like, because I have to pretty much take care of so much of the stuff everything as well. So
I think the best thing to do, man, right now is go ahead and find a guide after you get your certification for the MTA. It's just go heavy on AWS. That's what I would do. Go heavy on AWS and see if you can't get with some interest groups. And I'm trying to find.
Okay, I was thinking about the A+ certification, and then like doing like AWS and Azure.
Well, I'll say this: if you're working on trying to do AWS and Azure though, at the same time, trying to get an Azure certification, the Azure certification is assuming that you have your MCSAs. So I mean, I'm not trying to discourage you, but I'm just gonna keep it 100. If you're trying to do AWS and Azure at the same time and get both certified for those, I mean, if you could spend 8 hours a day studying, then maybe. But you know, most people can't dedicate that type of time. That's like overkill.
Yeah,
I think.
I mean, AWS seems more promising and stuff. You know, I mean.
Yeah.
Cause you and everybody else to fucking hearing about, like you said, the same exact thing. Like I was on my way back home today back from work and stuff, man. I'm hearing about people on the bus talking about AWS and everything and stuff, about how much niggas be making doing. I'm like, damn. I need to start take the more serious, get into myself. I'll get them on a search. So.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like, you know, the MTA. You do the MTA, you get your A+, and now you're DoD compliant. Like I say, the MTA. And then, like I said, I'd start going hard on that AWS, man. you know, as much as you possibly can, because all that stuff is out there. The AWS Solutions Architect, that would be the one that I would recommend to people that I'm talking about, they really, really want to get in the game. Because if you could learn it inside and out, training on your own, then people know that you could be trained inside the workplace easily. So everybody check out the video. If you got any questions, let me know. I've mentioned a lot of the positions that are out there. I've mentioned that I'm open for support with the exam. If anybody's interested in taking the exam, I think one person is interested in taking it soon. If I see some more entry-level positions. And then another thing with the resumes, y'all might want to start working on those. I haven't really got too many back from people, so, you know, like I said, the door's open. But, you know, people got to reach out. You know, I'm not going to break my neck to do it. People got to let me know something. I can't make it, or I can't respond, whatever the case may be. Or I'm busy or whatever. But they got to give me something, and then we can work with that, whether it be a resume. You know, I have questions about TeamViewer that I want to be able to put on. I want to be able to put that information on my resume. How do we do that? Get it reviewed again. Caesar's is almost done, so I'm gonna send his back for review until, you know, and once he changes his stuff up, and I guess we'll go from there. So I'll see everybody next Thursday night. If you're not going to be on, email me, and we'll take it from there.
Okay. All right.
All right, man. Take care.
All right, you too. I have another question to ask yourself as well too. I mean, we get done with the recording and everything. So if I'm asking you questions, I mean, matter of fact, I'll talk to you later about the stuff. All right.
Okay. Cool.
All right. Yep.
All right. Yep. Take care.